Hello, and welcome to today's update for Life as a Piano. Thanks so much for tuning in to this podcast that has become so irregular with how this year has panned out. But I wanted to get right into updates. So let's just quickly do the whole spiel for the intro. If you dig what I do on different podcast stuff, you can support me at patreon.com/Dutcher Snedeker. You can go to DutcherSnedeker.com to see everything else that I'm up to around the internet. And let's just talk for a sec, because got a couple updates and, reshaping how this podcast goes into its second year. So, all right, the music's fading. And I'm not just saying that for the edit, and it's gone. All right. The thing about this podcast, I've really enjoyed talking with other keyboard players. I felt like I didn't let myself have a full rapport with a lot of keyboardists I went to school with. I don't, for whatever reason, I'm not drawn to the jam aspect of it. Maybe I was just nervous and in my head. Maybe I didn't feel like I was ready or fully developed, or whatever my excuse was, or just nervous or not wanting to take that plunge. And I enjoy, I was scratching some of those itches playing in groups, but this podcast has been great to hear about different keyboard players' lives, different perspectives, different careers. We talked to a lot of different people this year, people who mainly exist online, people who exist in the church scene, people who, they're contemporary avant classical artists, people who have very niche careers that are doing well. And it was, something I wanted to do in addition to something like Mitten Backstage, where I talked to the wider Michigan music community. But I wanted to start building a rapport with more pianists and keyboardists, because a lot of the times I interact with pianists, it's in passing, or I just hear about them through other people. And it's nice to put faces to names. It's nice to put, more conversation than just a hello. All those things are nice. So with Life as a Piano going into its second year, I'm reframing how I do the podcast to save myself some time and some sanity. Basically, I want to do it quarterly. So I want to be able, every 3 months, just fill up every Saturday of that month with an interview with some kind of keyboard player, organ player, synth wizard, whatever the case. And just plan on having 12 interviews a year in that regard. Now, could I just put out one a month, you might say? Could I just focus on, putting out 6 in a row for a season and then taking a break? I'm trying the quarterly out because it splits up the work I need to do for Mitten Backstage and for this podcast. And I'm leaving the Dutcher Snedeker podcast in 2021. I'm not, saying completely that it'll go away. It's done for now. Might come back in the future, but this will open up some more time to focus on other stuff. And I'm taking 2 months off of socials and 2 months off of posting any of my podcasts. That's my vacation, we'll call it. I still have to do gigs. I just had a musical that canceled. So I have 2.5 months of work that just vanished, and I need to, make money. And I need to focus on that too. And that's going to take a lot of my time and energy, and a lot of my time and energy needs to also be reinvested back into me. I'm feeling the burnout. I'm feeling the just the overwhelmingness that it takes to handle the schedule that I kind of put on myself all the time, because apparently my brain still wants to be back in my undergrad when I didn't do anything other than classes and practicing and rehearsals and gigs, and didn't really see a lot of people. So I want to shift that focus and towards, getting back on to some more positive health and wellness trends, all those things. If you want to keep up with me, I mentioned Patreon. I'll be posting stuff early during my interim from socials. You'll see some updates that I'll be scheduling for the band, for like Earth Radio, which if you're listening to this and you happen to be in Michigan, Earth Radio, we're closing out the year with a show at Ethnology on New Year's Eve. And then we're kicking off 2022 with shows on January 14 at 20 Front Street in Lake Orion and January 15th at Otis Supply in Ferndale. And then with normal mode, we're playing at the Listening Room to kick off 2022 right on New Year's Day. So if you want to keep the party going, come hang out with us at the Listening Room. And you can also catch normal mode January 13th at the Roger B. Chafee Planetarium at the Grand Rapids Public Museum. We're going to be playing as part of their artist series. We're paired with a designer who will create a show around our music. So you can come catch this unique experience. Each set's about a half hour, so you can come enjoy some music and see some cool visuals. And when's the last time you've been in a planetarium? It was probably like a middle school field trip. I know for me, it was probably sophomore year of college. And that was because my grandparents took me there. I don't even know if it was a planetarium. It might have just been the science museum, like a museum of natural history or science or something. But anyway, there's gigs you can come see me at. There's content you can catch up with, other podcast episodes of Mitten Backstage, Dutcher Snedeker podcast, Live as a Piano. You can catch up with all those things. You can see content and stuff I've released with various groups. I'm going to be updating my website to reflect some of the releases that I was on this year. If I haven't done that already, I can't remember if I'm up to date. So I wanted to make an update because this podcast is kind of taken a back seat just with the scheduling. And, I was sick for a chunk of October, early November. But I think this change in the format will allow people to have a little bit more of an expectation, and it'll have me stick to a schedule a little bit easier. It gives me time and wiggle room so that if I have a slower week, let's do some piano interviews and then get some videos queued up and scheduled, rather than trying to, what I was doing this week. It was every week was either 2 or 3 podcasts. And that was a lot. It's a lot of, think about if I average like 90 minutes per podcast of the Life as a Piano and the Mitten Backstage podcasts, that's 3 hours of just conversation. And then there's some editing, there's some waiting an hour and a half to 2 to 3 hours sometimes for videos to render on my old desktop, and another hour getting things scheduled. That's like, it's a lot. Times that by 3. Dutcher Snedeker podcast fluctuated between a half hour and an hour, but again, I just want the reset. I want the time to reinvest in myself. It's kind of a vacation, even though I'm going to be working a lot. It's a vacation from some of the expectations of social media and the incessantness of, I don't know if that's a word, the relentlessness of being on socials. Also getting back on track with the health and wellness. I'm down 50 pounds from April, but I've relaxed some stuff because of the holidays and just like food. So I we'll get back on that train, discover some new things, learn some new skills, grow as a human being, all those good things. And at no point has anyone ever taken time off of a personal creative thing or a social media thing and been like, that was the worst decision I ever made. Like, most times people are like, I learned a lot. I feel more peaceful. I have better tool sets to deal with the crazy and manage my time. that's, what I'm hoping to do with this new time. So I won't keep you any longer. Last thing, I wanted to thank all of the people who checked out Life's a Piano this year. I appreciate you stumbling onto this niche little podcast. I appreciate the guests who have been willing to come on to the podcast and have conversations, all different backgrounds, all different ages. And I appreciate the people who have mentioned that they enjoyed the podcast, have shared it. I also appreciate all the patrons. Again, can't thank the patrons enough. The people who, even if you're not currently a patron out there, if you've supported me on Patreon since it launched around this time last year, I really appreciate your investment in what I do. And I can't wait to continue to reciprocate on your generous offerings. But I guess that's it. There's not really much else to say. That mid backstage, Life is a Piano. See where my head's at all over the place. Life is a Piano is going to return. I'm going to shoot for March because that's technically 3 months into the year. So I look forward to sharing that all with you at some point. And I look forward to 2022 being a year of give and take. Take the time I need and give myself a break because I always learning, always growing, and hopefully y'all can catch me live as well. If you want to hear me play piano. But until then, we'll see you in the next episode of Life's a Piano.